Yeah, man, we decided to turn pro. I don't really want to waste any more time. I've got more of a pro style. Now we're getting into the big leagues. We're going to show the world how great I am. I am going down to super bantamweight, obviously. So I can cut that weight easily. I want to win a British title in my first 10 fights, man. I just want to be one of the youngest British champions and the youngest world champions out here in the UK. And I believe I can, man. By the age of 22, 23, I want to be one of the best in the world. You know, I got the passion and the love for the sport, and I made a lot of sacrifices that will just make me succeed even more. But now we just gotta go out there, show what I'm really about, show the focus, show the passion, show the life that I live. Even when I retire from boxing, then I'll enjoy my life. The Hangar Avenue, Wolverhampton, 6 p.m. doors open, pro debut. We're just going to make big statements at the super bantamweight division. Time to rumble now. It's time to show the greatness of Gully's relentless power. Let's get it.
Welcome back to the KultureKast podcast. We have a returning guest on the podcast. He is a boxer from Wolverhampton. He's recently turned professional and will be making his debut on October 30th in his hometown. Welcome, Gully, the relentless Powar. How are you doing, brother?
Hello, man. I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on once again, man. It was a great podcast we did last year. And it's mad things have happened over time, man. A lot of things have been achieved and I'm ready to speak about it. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. As was said, we've already done a podcast previously where we talk about more your upbringing, your culture, how you got into boxing, sort of the usual format of the podcast. So if anybody does want to listen to that one first and then jump back onto this one, that was episode 22. And as I say, that is more Gully's journey so far. And then we'll pick up basically where we left off. So in the last year or so, or when we last spoke even, you obviously were amateur, 3 times Midlands champ, national bronze medal, all of these things, and sort of highly decorated as an amateur. And I was listening to that podcast back, obviously in preparation for this episode, and you mentioned something on there, which was, I think you said you wanted to stay as an amateur for another Olympic cycle. So you were saying like another 4 or 5 years as an amateur, try to go through the GB pathways and sort of, turn pro after that. And then this year, you fucking turned pro.
I know, you know what? There was a big decision from me and my family and obviously my trainers, my managers, everyone. It was the right time, you know what I mean? I just looked at myself and I thought, you're a young man. I don't want to go carry on with the amateurs because I don't really want to waste any more time. And it's not that I didn't like the amateurs. It's just a lot of things did happen that made my head change and my decisions change on the amateur boxing scene. But yeah, man, we decided to turn pro. I've got more of a pro style. I spar these British champions. I'm doing well against them. Shout out to Ejaz. Shout out to everyone that I spar, man. I've been signed with BCB. We've got big things coming. You know what I mean? I could potentially get signed to a bigger promotion in the future. We don't know yet. Well, there's talks, but I can't talk too much about it yet, man. But yeah, man, like there's been big decision. Obviously, since then, I've won, 2 more Midlands titles. I've had about 10, probably I'd say 10 more fights. I've just done a lot since then, man. It's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey so far, and it's only starting to begin, man. The amateurs is just not even the beginning. That was just like 5% of the journey. Now we're getting into the big leagues. We're going to show the world how great I am, as Muhammad Ali would say.
100%, 100%. As we sort of spoke on the last one, you were 18 then, so I'm guessing you're around 19, 20 now, right?
So I'm 20. I just turned 20 about 4 weeks ago,
Well, many happy returns, belatedly, apologies.
No worries, man.
But that is still very young for somebody to turn professional in the UK specifically, because I think the UK is one of them countries that, like we were speaking on the last podcast, does have that amateur system in place where it is very systematic. You try to go through the GB ranks like you were saying. But I do think that is changing because of certain individuals. Like, I know this person is a great inspiration to you. You're wearing the jumper from their gym now, which is Canelo. The Mexican style, Ryan Garcia, similar to this, turning professional at a younger age and getting that professional experience in the bank. Is that something that you thought of as well, of the younger you can turn professional, the quicker you can tailor your game?
Yeah, so that's a great question, man, because, not many people have asked me that, to be fair, and that's a good question. So my decision was obviously key. I explained why I turned pro and that, but I just want to be one of the youngest British champions and the youngest world champions out here in the UK. And to be one that, because a lot of Sikh fighters do their thing, I respect them all, man. And it's a journey, you know what I mean? I've got in touch with most of them. Shout out to Dylan Chima, in the Massey and all them guys, and Gulraj, and it's good to see everyone's on the scene now. But so it's time to show what we was about, you know what I mean, our community as a whole, and ready to show the world what we were really about, man. But yeah, man, I turned pro young because I've seen all the greats do it. I've seen Javante Davis, Devin Haney, I've seen all them guys do it, and I've seen what they've achieved, and I'm just as good or better, you know what I mean? And I believe in it, but I am going down to super bantamweight, obviously, because I'm not that much of a big person anyway. And it's the day before waves. I can cut that weight easily. I'm hard work, dedication. I got that pro style, that South American style, Puerto Rican, Mexican, whatever you guys want to call it. I got the master, the left hook to the body. Amazing at that punch now. Yeah, man, it's just been an amazing journey so far. And obviously, I turned over at a young age, and it's just going to be the best parts now. You know what I mean? You're going to see the best parts of Gully, the relentless power. You know what I mean? The sing is back now. You know what I mean?
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah.
As you say, shout out to a lot of them fighters that are obviously repping. You say Dylan had him on the podcast, Inda had him on the podcast. Gulraj Kera coming soon potentially. So hopefully we get him on the podcast soon as well. But no, definitely, I do think it is more common now to turn pro younger because of the success that the American system has. I think when you're in the GB system, similar to the American system, if you're in there young, you can obviously get that backing from a young age as well. But when you're sort of not in that system from a young age, it's hard to penetrate through it. And I think people obviously like your Javante Davises and things can go straight into professional game, which sometimes can tailor them a bit better. As you say, if you're a heavy hitter like him, you don't really need the amateur game to learn your technical skills. You just need a rough fight and knock mans out, and that's what he's been doing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so obviously it's just I know where I'm at. I know where I'm going. I have visions, you know what I mean? I've always dreamed of being a great fighter, and I got the passion and the love for the sport, and I've made a lot of sacrifices that will just make me succeed even more. But the thing is that boxing is the loneliest, toughest sport in the world, in my opinion. You gotta be dedicated, you gotta have that self-motivation. And I know some fighters, lose that, and it's not a bad thing because boxing is hard, and I understand them, and I respect any fighter that gets in the ring, and I always have done. Doesn't matter if they're my opponent, doesn't matter if we've been on bad terms. I will always respect a man for jumping in the ring. But yeah, the American system's changed the whole sport of boxing. Obviously, Floyd was one of the people to change the boxing sport. You know what I mean? Javante Davis, Devin Haney, even I look up to him. Obviously, I'm a big Canelo fan, but I do love Floyd Mayweather as well. And he created a new system, and obviously there's always going to be people saying negative things about him, saying, he's bought this YouTube crap and all this, but it's made boxing bigger. And obviously I can't really speak on that too tough because one day, I'm not saying I'll fight a YouTuber, but you never know, man. If the money's right, you know what I mean? Nah, I'm joking, but I just want to strictly fight the world champions and the best fighters out there, you know what I mean? And that's what I'm going to keep on doing, succeeding. I'm looking, one of my aims is, I think I mentioned in my last podcast, not with you, but for someone else, but I want to win a British title in my first 10 fights, man. We'll see if I can do that. And I believe I can, man. By the age of 22, 23, I want to be one of the best in the world, man. You know what I mean? And in the country especially, and show the world the greatness that I possess, because I don't think many people have seen how good I am. And when people watch me spar, they're like, this is the guy, man. This is the guy, the next big thing. But it's all about confidence, you know what I mean? I'm never cocky. I'm always humble with it. I always respect anyone. You know what I'm saying? But I do all my talk in the ring. You know what I mean? I like to promote myself. I'm a bit photogenic as well, as you can probably guess. But yeah, it's just all hard work and dedication. You know what I mean? And I studied the sport 24/7, and I watch a lot of Javante. I watch all them top guys. I watch all the flipping, the little guys as well, the super flyweights at Estrada and Chocolatito and all them guys. And you learn from everyone. I'm like a sponge. You know what I mean? You can't, even if someone's less experienced, I'll always learn from them, and I always have done. I still learn from people now. I'm thinking, how the hell did he do that? I can't do that. You know what I mean? He's only had 4 fights. But yeah, man, we always learning, bro. Like, and it's just part of the journey, and I can't wait till I've had my first fight. I could fight tomorrow and I'll dismantle my next opponent.
100%, 100%, and yeah, definitely the boxing historian side of things. I think obviously looking at your Instagram stories and following you for quite some time, I like my boxing. I think I'm fairly versed in the world of boxing. I watch a lot of old school fights and things, and I'll be
Yeah,
looking through your story, and then I'm just like, oh shit, I didn't even know this fighter existed. Let me go on YouTube and watch his fight. So keeping up with your stories is always educating me as well on some new
yeah.
fighters.
I'm a student. I'm a student of the game. You know what I mean. I know about a lot of fights. Probably watched about 70% of all fights. You know what I mean. And there's still fights I'm still watching to this day. People I've never heard of. You know what I mean. Like, and I've studied Canelo, I've studied Golovkin, I've studied all them guys. There's been times and periods of time where I just watch them fights constantly, so I can learn new things from them. I've watched Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, all them top guys, man. I love boxing. I love watching it. Everyone's got, even fighters that lose fights. Like, say, for example, there's a guy called Seha. He's a Mexican fighter. He's fought Rigondeaux and all them guys. Okay, cool. He might have lost against Rigondeaux and he might have lost against flipping Magaseo. But people only see the highlights. But when people watch the full fights, you do learn new things. That, okay, 12 rounds of boxing is a different sport anyway. First 6 rounds, that Seha could be outboxing someone, you know what I'm saying? If you know what I'm saying. But then you watch the rounds and it's like, okay, he's winning these rounds. You know what I mean? I'm learning how he's winning the rounds. Okay, he gets knocked out in the 10th round, takes 1 punch, you know what I mean? And that's what's amazing about boxing. Like, you could be the best skilled fighter for 8 rounds and then boom, 1 punch you out. And and it's just, I've always watched these fighters and I've watched people like Canelo and Golovkin's. Canelo's winning the first 4 rounds. Next thing Golovkin's come back with a big right hand. The fight changes. Canelo's coming back with a left up to the body. Golovkin's moving back again. Next thing Golovkin's coming back in the 10th round, hurting him again. And it's just a back and forth thing. And that's what I love about boxing. You know what I mean? And you see the different sides of people. You see the character they are and who they truly are. Like, are people talkers? Are fighters talkers? Or are they actually there to fight? Recently, I watched Rolly Romero versus Javante, and to be fair, Rolly was doing fine until Javante just caught him with a 1 shot. And you see, that's just boxing for you. Like, okay, Rolly Romero might have won 2-3 rounds, but you know what I'm saying? Javante caught him, game over, man. But I respect everyone that steps in the ring. Doesn't matter if you trash talk or not. I just love boxing. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm a bit passionate when it comes to the face-offs. I show that intimidation side of me, but that's just me as a person. But yeah, man, but after the fight, we shake hands. We're like real true gentlemen. You know what I mean?
That's it. As echoed throughout most of the boxing podcasts is that respect that and discipline that it teaches you. And obviously we spoke about that in the previous episode that we did. I think it is interesting as well, though, when you watch professional boxing, where you'll see that somebody wins a round, but sometimes Canelo's quite notorious for this. I think within the first 3-4 rounds, he doesn't mind losing rounds because all he's doing is like taking in the data. And he's like, let me just see how this person moves. Let me see the habits that they have. If they throw a jab, what's their foot movement like afterwards? And then after 3-4 rounds, then he's like, okay, now it's my time to sort of take over. And I think the Caleb Plant and the Billy Joe Saunders fight were almost identical in that, of late stoppages, and the early rounds were just taking in data.
When I watched that fight, I knew what was going to happen. And obviously, Bibble's a different story. I knew Bibble was going to be the hardest fight because the guy is a young man. You know what I'm saying? He's a world champion. He's beating fighters, you know what I'm saying? And he beat Joe Smith Jr., you know what I mean? And obviously, it's like you study fighters. Like, obviously, he had the amateur experience. But Caleb Plant, I knew what was going to happen because with Canelo, what he does is up to super middleweight, even to Kovalev, he's light heavyweight, so I can't really say too much about him not being strong enough. But what he does is he'll break it down. So, like, okay, Caleb Plant will win about 6-7 rounds throughout the fight. He'll use his skills. He'll look amazing. He'll look world class. And Caleb Plant is world class. You know what I mean? You see it in that fight. But what Canelo will do is he'll calculate every single punch, what he's doing. He learned that from Floyd Mayweather. You know what I'm saying? When he fought him, how Floyd, Canelo jabbed. I remember there's one time when Canelo jabbed Floyd, and Floyd's head went all the way back. You know what I mean? And I think, and then what Floyd would do is he'll calculate it every time. So every time it's Canelo throwing the jab, he'll shoulder rolling it straight away. So Canelo's what he's done is he's obviously learned over time that, you know what, I can take these guys out throughout the later rounds. I don't need to waste energy. And I think he learned that from the first Golovkin fight as well. You know what I mean? Against someone that's so effective and strong. But yeah, man, like obviously I've learned, I'm a sponge, like I said, and I love watching boxing, and it's just is what it is. Like I could talk about on this podcast for about 3 hours straight about Canelo fighting, I don't know, and Beterbiev, you know what I mean, and how that fight would turn out and what would happen. Like I could make a prediction right now, but we'll have a different one day. We'll just do a podcast with me and you just talk about boxing as a whole.
100%, 100%. So obviously going back to your pro debut, we're about 5 weeks out now at the time of recording, 5-6 weeks out, 7 weeks. Sorry.
So 7, yeah, about right. Yeah, I need to do my calculations right.
yeah. Well, it's almost there. It's next month. It's at the end of next month. What changes have you made from your amateur lifestyle to when you've signed your pro contract, you've got your date, your income? Has there been any changes other than obviously people that you sparring and things? Has there been any changes in nutrition, training, bar sparring, mindset, things like that?
Yeah, so my mindset now is a lot more focused, and I've been very focused. I've been focusing on the wrong things. I've been focusing on being positive, and you know, I know there's gonna be a lot of pressure in my head in the future. You know what I mean? I'm only young, but I'm gonna handle it because my family's got me as well. And obviously, at one point, I'm gonna be very famous, and I can see where I'm going with it. You know what I mean? I've got a lot of eyes on me at this moment of time, and there's been a lot of differences, man. Like obviously, this is a big thing for me to change over and to be on the big screen soon, and you know what I mean. And obviously, I'm ready for it. I'm prepared. You know what I mean? I know what's willing and what's gonna happen. But now we just gotta go out there, show what I'm really about, show the focus, show the passion, show the life that I live. You know what I mean? And the hard work that I put in the gym. Sorry, and there's been massive differences. I've had a lot of like I run every morning now. I run in the night times. Obviously not twice a day, but I run like in the mornings. If I don't run in the mornings, I run in the night times. And I train hard in the night time. I do sharp rounds in the pads. I spar British champions. I do different things. So I've sparred Adam Azim obviously since this podcast as well. And he's an amazing fighter, man. Like obviously at the time I was about 57 kilo, but it was a great experience. Can't take nothing away from him. He's sharp as hell. You know what I mean? Probably one of my toughest spars I've ever had. Yeah, man, an experience to meet new fighters at Joe Kawasaki and you know just see what they was about, because boxing, it's a very pressurable sport. Like if you ain't got the right mindset, then you'll go downhill. You know what I mean? And a small minority can understand the concept of the sport of boxing, and I think I've always learned that over time. The experiences I've met, who I've met, and the people I've met, and like I said, it's not even about the fighting part. It's about the dedication to making weight. It's about the dedication outside the ring, eating the right foods, you know what I'm saying, having the right mindset, not messing around, not drinking, not smoking, staying in your home even though your friends are going out. Like it's just little things like that make you into a world champion, in my opinion. And I always say when I retire from boxing, then I'll enjoy my life, you know what I mean? But at this moment in time, I'm creating a legacy, and I wanna pursue the great one. I want to be one of the best fighters in the world. Yeah, if I'm not the best, I want to be number one in the world. You know what I mean? I want to be a pound for pound king, and that's my mindset for now. You know what I mean? And we're gonna strive for it, and we're gonna keep going. No obstacle can come in my way because I'll always overcome it. You know what I mean? I've always been that type of character. Doesn't matter if I was 15, 16, I've overcome everything that came my way, and we'll keep pushing. You know what I mean? We'll keep pushing on until we get right to the top. You know what I mean?
100%. Well, you've definitely answered the mindset question right there, because it seems like it's an elite mindset, and that's what you have to have. Like I think it's sometimes when you speak to like a quote unquote average person, the layman, they speak to boxers like yourself, like into like Dylan, and I know obviously you've just said there that like obviously the humbleness, and you are obviously such a sound guy to speak to, but when you talk like this, it can almost come off egotistical. But the more that I've spoke to people like yourself who are competing, it's not ego. It's just like, this is the mindset that you have to actually succeed. Like if you don't have confidence when you're stepping through their ropes that you're going to win, there's no point in getting in there. Do you know what I mean? And that's what you're exuding, not even showing, it's exuding off you. And there was another thing in the previous podcast that we'll touch on a bit later, but it was, you knew even then, I'm going to reach the top, but when I do, obviously, like I'll be bringing my community with me.
Yeah, man, definitely.
And that's something we'll speak about, obviously some of the community work you're doing a bit later on, and obviously some of the happening in the space as well, in a minute. But just going back to, obviously you'll be starting off your career in super bantamweight, as you said, and wanting to become a British title holder within 10 fights. And I think that is actually, although it would be like extremely impressive, I think it's actually fairly realistic in the lower weight divisions, because there isn't
Most definitely.
that much competition compared to, say, your lightweight to middleweight range, where most fighters are. Them lower weight classes, you can probably get positioned into them fights a lot quicker, especially if, like, for example, Adam Azim that you sparred with, if you're taking people out within a couple of rounds, you'll leapfrog a lot of people, and obviously, and that will sort of fast track your progression, which is sort of happening to him. Is that something that has been spoken about with your management company so far, of that is the goal within 10 fights?
So obviously, I always joke around with it. Obviously, I believe I can do it. It's just about getting them right fights in. If I take out my first 5 opponents, I don't see why, and I believe I can do that. And I understand what you say about the egotistical thing, because people do think that that type of mindset is egotistical, and like you can have an ego and that, but it's not about the ego, it's about the confidence. And there's a difference between being cocky and putting people down than being confident in yourself. My competition is me. I'm always competing with myself, and that's what's made me a lot better as a fighter. And I never look at anyone's downfall. I never pray for anyone's downfall. I wish everyone the success they have, even the people that, I've always been on bad terms with. I always want people to succeed, and that's my mentality. Because at the end of the day, if you've got a dream, go for it. That's for anyone in the world. Everyone's got potential to be great in something in life, and we have it in us. But it's about taking that 1% and making it to 100%. And I think some people don't believe in themselves because they think, "Oh, it's impossible." I'm from Wolverhampton, a small city, and obviously the lot of things the kids have said I've worked with, and most of the things I've always heard is, "I'm from Wolverhampton. It's a small city. No one makes it from here." But that's not true though, because the thing is, once again, okay, cool, people in London, the capital city, they can make it easier because the opportunities are right there. But what they forget is that if you put that 100% into that 110% in that willingness to always be the person to succeed and have that mindset, you can get anywhere in life. You know what I mean? And that's what all the young people, that's what even, doesn't matter if you're 40 years old and you go in university and you're having a degree, you want to have a degree, sorry, you can still do it. It doesn't matter. And that's what I always tell people, like, anything's possible in life. Like, I didn't realize I was going to get this far in my life. You know what I mean? I haven't even started my journey yet. You know what I mean? I get people asking me for photos already on the streets and that in Wolverhampton. And half of these people I don't even know, and I've not even got to a certain stage yet. But at the same time, I'm always going to be willing to help people and bringing the community with me, especially, all the kids and the young kids that I work with. And I want to always be that person to assemblies and schools. And, shout out to Daryl and the person I work with, InPower Academy. You know what I'm saying? He helped me get this job and that, like, and he's put me on the roles and stuff, and he's let me do mentoring and stuff. And it's just been a great journey with him as well, teaching the young people the sport of boxing, and obviously even me learning the MMA side of things, because obviously we don't just do boxing, we do MMA, we do jiu-jitsu, different sports, obviously different mixed martial arts and that, and I've learned new things from them. And like, it's about the Sikh community as well. Obviously, once again, we are rising in the fighting community. There's people in Canada doing their thing. We've got fighters in the UK. And it's just about bringing the Sikh community with me as well, because once again, we ain't got many fighters, but it's all about sticking together and rising to the occasion at all times and showing what our history was about and what we did. And that's mainly part of my role. I'm destined. I was brought here by God for a reason, and why God set me here. And I'm going to show why I'm here, you know what I mean, and build that legacy and to inspire the young people. Doesn't matter if you're Sikh, if you're Muslim, if you're a different religion. I always want to be helping people, willing to push them to the next level in life and giving them that advice. And that's just what I'm always going to be about, man. It's just about my willingness to keep going.
100%. As I said, we'll touch on a couple of them topics a bit more in depth in a second. When you were obviously thinking about coming in at super bantamweight, I'm guessing within them first 5 fights, there's probably going to be a bit of flexibility, because if you're, say, for example, I know when I was speaking to Indo about this, he campaigns a welter and super welter, but it's mainly for activity. And I'm guessing an activity seems to be the thing that's staggering a lot of people's careers at the moment, just because, you know, there's not many dates available. Everyone's well, there is a date available, but there's too many fighters competing for them slots. So are you someone who would be like flexible to be a weight division higher if needed to? Like if you got the call like tomorrow and be like, oh, we don't have a super bantamweight, but we've got this guy here and he needs a no, or are you sticking just to super bantamweight, trying to get to the top then and then move up?
See, that's a good question. I've never been asked that either, but I would stick to super bantamweight, not because I don't want to move up divisions, but okay, it's all about risk taking and that, but at the same time, it's about the sport of boxing. You have to protect yourself and put yourself first, and you got to be patient, man, in this sport, man. Like obviously Floyd didn't do it, so you know Canelo didn't do it. Canelo moved up when he wants to move up. You know what I mean? So how it works, if you look at the greatest fighters in the world, they might not be great in the first 30 fights. They might be fighting terrible fighters. Like Marvin Hagler didn't fight anyone good until after, I think, 30 fights. If you look at Canelo didn't fight anyone until he fought Jose Cotto, sorry, when you got recognized. And you got to be very patient. There's no rush in the sport, and especially because I'm 20 years old, there's no rush at all. And I think I understand what, you know, the concept of you getting the call and saying, you know what, I'm fighting tomorrow at featherweight, but it's about just taking your time, man. Like even all these things that you manifest in life, like coming into the sport of boxing and saying I want to be world champion, it all comes in time. But if you rush the process, you're gonna take a mad L, and it's just gonna hurt your feelings. You gotta take your time, go around the obstacles. You know what I mean? Take time, because I don't even know if there was a story about a snail that beat the I don't know what that, I don't know what it
The
was.
tortoise in the hair.
Yeah, something like that. I remember reading that as a kid, and it was true. Like you got to take your time, man, to win. You know what I mean? Sometimes if you're too rush the process, it just goes downhill from there. And I've seen a lot of fighters do that, and I'm willing to just take my time, be patient. I'm a very young man yet. I'm not even flipping 25 yet. You know what I mean? I'm not even 21 yet. So I've still got another year. So like, I'm just gonna take my time, see what God's got for me. You know what I mean? And just keep faith in God at all times, man. Like I'm destined for something. So I've got to wait for what that moment is, and I've just got to keep putting that hard work in and keep that faith going. You know what I mean? What's written. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you definitely do have time on your side in that aspect. I think that the reason that I asked the question is most people obviously turn pro a bit later, and because they want to get the fights under their belt, they need to be active a bit more. They're a bit more flexible in the early fights, and then when they get to say when they're pursuing a title, that's when they're like, right, okay, I need to stick to this weight because this is where I'm optimum to get a title. Obviously, as you grow older, the lower weight classes at the beginning of your career will be the best, because as you grow older, you'll put on size naturally. You'll get more muscle mass. Your metabolism might slow down as well, unfortunately, as I can tell you. So eventually you'll obviously start getting higher in weight classes, and that's probably when you'll end up climbing the ranks.
I will, you know what it is? I will eventually move up, but it won't be anytime soon, if you know what I mean. Like, I will move up to featherweight, I will move up to super featherweight, but naturally right now, I've already checked with all my nutritionists and, you know, the people that I work, like train with and that, and I can get down to 55, no easy work, because I'm only 5'7", if you know what I mean. Like, I'm not a tall person. I'm strong, don't get twisted, but there's always fat to be taken off, and a lot of fighters are lazy with it, you know what I mean. They won't go down because they think, it's too much and I can't do this and I can't down. But once again, it's about the discipline, it's about the mind. If you can get down to a weight where you're naturally, I've checked with my with the doctors and that, like when they did the medicals and stuff, and they check your weight and stuff, and you ask them the question. Sometimes you just go out your way to ask the question and say, what weight can I get down to? And they'll say to you, naturally they'll do that thing with the clippers, I can't remember what they're called, but and they can check how much weight you can lose. And naturally I was 52 kilos in 2017. You know what I mean? So I'm not a natural big build. It's just the pandemic did me a bit dirty. You know what I mean? Because even in the championships, I was 57 kilo. Not this one, but the one that was in 2020, 57 when I was fighting 56 to 60. You know what I mean? So I can't cut the weight. It's just about being disciplined and staying dedicated and drinking a lot of water.
100%. So is that something with your nutritionist that you have to like will they guide you on how to get to 55 safely as well? Because as I say, with things like weight cuts and things that's half of the battle for most fighters, as you've alluded to there as well. And that's half of the safety concerns as well, is if you're doing, say, like a water cut, for example, that's one of the most dangerous things a fighter can do. Essentially, it's not exactly safe in that aspect. So is that something that you have to have a lot of guidance in, of how to do that safely, correctly, sustainably, so you can get to championship level fighting at that weight?
Most definitely. And once again, it just comes down to you as a person. Like, obviously you can get told what to do, you know what I mean, you can get, people giving you advice and that, but it's about the person, because you could be sneaking off eating chocolates and stuff, you know what I mean, like, and just telling them fibs, but it's about you and what you want as well. Like, and when you're out, you know what I'm saying, if someone's got cakes in front of you, are you going to eat it? No, you know what I mean, you're going to be disciplined. And I've had that many times in the last 3 weeks where people eat chocolates and that, but I've adapted. It's like, no, it's cool now. I know what I'm doing. I know where I need to be. Once again, when I retire, I'll be eating all the chocolates that people have, you know what I mean? And at this moment of time, I can't do that. But boxing is boxing at the end of the day, and your weight is your weight. And I think it's not even about the fight, it's about making the weight. That's the most important thing in the sport of boxing, because the fight is the easy part. You know what I mean? I could do 12 rounds tomorrow, but I haven't made weight, so I get fined, and then that's it. You lose that heart for the fight, you know what I mean? But if you're dedicated and you're willing to get to a certain stage in the weight categories and that, and you can get down there, bang on. And I think that's just basics, you know what I mean? I think fighters should know that from the start, and a lot of fighters do it. So, like, I remember Canelo fought Liam Smith, he moved down to super welterweight because he knew he could move down for that world title shot, you know what I mean? And he stayed disciplined, and what he did was, he probably made a lot of sacrifices eating nothing, like, because he's naturally middleweight, but he made that weight, beat Liam Smith, and Liam Smith gave him a hell of a fight, you know what I mean? And won the world title, you know what I mean? Then became 3-division world champion, you know what I mean? It's all about the discipline, man. I think he was 3-division, or he might have won a world title in the past, but yeah, man, like, see, it's just so it all just comes down to discipline. I think that's just a fighter's mentality, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. When we were speaking before about sparring and things, one of the names that you mentioned, and I think you were there as well, Dylan's show in Coventry.
Yeah, I was there.
And so Adam Azim was on that show as well, and you've just said that you've sparred him. Adam was, I think, straight after Dylan, fight-wise.
Yeah.
On the Coventry show. Yeah. And he's someone that I didn't really know much of before that show, to be fair. And then the next, I'm there to support Dylan, and then the next fight comes on, it's Adam, and then he comes in, knocks this guy out within like a couple of rounds, and then a couple of weeks later, he's on a show, he knocks the guy out in a couple of rounds. I'm like, bloody hell, this kid's quite good. What was your experience like with meeting Azim and sparring him?
Yeah, man, it was not really expected, to be fair. I went there for the experience, just to learn what them guys are doing and how they fight. It's just, like I said, I'm a student of the game, but then obviously I got told let's do some sparring by the trainers and that, so I just jumped in with him. At the time, like I said, I was 57. I was doing the championships at the time, and I jumped in the ring. And I thought, you know what, this is going to be a hard spar. I knew from the start, because I've heard about him before. We was in the same championships in 2020, and I watched him fight, and I was fighting in the other ring at the same time. So it's one of them ones where when we sparred, it was a good experience. I learned new things. I learned how to be effective. I learned how to, kind of master the range and stuff, because it was a different type of spar. I knew I was in with someone that is going to be a future world champion. You know what I mean? And he was, I would say, probably my hardest spar out there. And I respect him. You know what I mean? What he's doing for the sport, and like what he is. I think a light welterweight. I think he is power puncher for real, man. Like he's a lethal puncher, and if he can just keep going and keep staying focused, he'll be the next world champion. You know what I mean? Like, for real. Like, and once again, great experience. There's nothing I can really say, man. Great experience.
100%. But that power punch is definitely coming through, because he's knocking out all of his opponents.
Yeah, definitely. I saw the power as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. He's getting backed as well. And at the end of the day, like you said, like, realistically, to push the South Asians forward as well, he's still repping. Do you know what I mean? Like, we obviously are in we're separate, but we're united, if that makes sense.
Always united, bro.
Always. it's still amazing for the culture. Like the comparisons with obviously Amir Khan are there for a reason, and hopefully he does get all the way to the top. We've already sort of answered it, but obviously October 30th is your pro debut. Obviously, just give a quick little plug, date, event, time, and all these things. But then also, if you could, straight after, just mention this is my debut on this date, but this is what I want to achieve in the sport. And then that could be a nice little clip for the socials and that for the trailer.
Hanger Avenue, 6 p.m. doors open. Wolverhampton, you know what I mean? Pro debut, big thing. Could potentially be on Fight Zone. I'm not too sure yet. Promoted by BCB. There's gonna be a lot of fighters on there. Shout out to everyone from Wolves. And yeah, man, what I want to achieve, I would say I want to be the greatest fighter on the planet. As always, I want to win a British title real soon. I'm only 20 years old. I want to be one of the best to ever do it, man, and put the Sikh community on the map, help the younger generation out, and just be a diverse person, man. You know what I mean? And just support everyone's mentality and what they want to do in their lives. And we're just going to make big statements at the super bantamweight division. If you get down to bantamweight, even better. You know what I mean? But we'll see how I feel, man. But yeah, I just want to achieve great things. And shout out to KultureKast for having me on here. Shout out to all my sponsors as well, Fireway and Jobs Worth Recruitment, Manny's Therapy. I've got some new ones should be coming real soon as well. Shout out to all them. Have I missed anyone? I need to think if I missed anyone. I'll think of it. I always miss out one or two, but you guys know who you are, man. You know who you are.
You'll get better over time.
Yeah, it's just sometimes my memory just because I was sparring today in it. But yeah, shout out to everyone that sponsors me and helps me out in my career, and we're just gonna be on to great things.
100%. That must be a hard sponsorship to have, though. Fireway Pizza, especially when you cut a weight.
Man, the pizzas, they're fire, man. Fire. Honestly, that's what they call it, the Fireway, because it's just too fire in there, man. Every time I go in there, I just feel like eating, but I can't, man. You know what I mean? I can't. Yeah.
Quickly, let's touch on a couple of topics that we sort of push back to later in the episode, which is the Sikh community. Obviously, as we said, plenty of fighters supporting you. From the sort of background, what has your interactions been like with your fellow boxers, and have they gave you any words of wisdom? And obviously for the Sikh sort of culture and background, what does that mean for you representing in a professional sense?
But it's a great thing, like I touched on earlier when we spoke when you asked me the question earlier as well. It's just great. Obviously, there's not, like I said, there's not many Sikh fighters out there, and once again we're united and we're looking to put the Sikhs on the map. You know what I mean? I think we got a small minority of fighters. It'd be great for us to show our true beings and what we was about in history and stuff as well. And you know what I'm saying? And it's just great to see how we're all coming together now. And just like I said, there's fighters in Canada. The MMA fighters that I've recently followed. We got quite a few fighters in the UK coming up, and we got the younger generation coming up, which is great as well. And it's just about motivating each other and just keep pushing to show what we're really about. Because once again, it's just a Sikh culture. We haven't got many fighters at this moment of time, and it's just great to see. It's great to see everyone on the rise. And I spoke to Dylan Chima when I went to his fight and that, and we had a picture taken. If you've seen him on Insta. Yeah, man, it was just good. I don't know what the conversation was about, but it was just me congratulating, saying, "You're well done," and that. You know what I mean? And obviously, he's coming to my debut, so it'd be great, man. It's just what we're doing out here right now is just uniting. And obviously, like I said, I'm the first Punjabi fighter from Wolverhampton. If you guys don't recently know, and it's just good that we're all coming from different cities. You know what I mean? Different stories, different journeys, and once again, it's all leads to the same places, man. And God, in God's will, we'll all make it to the top together. You know what I mean? And I have peace in the Moswala in my heart all the time.
100%. And yeah, it's definitely that. Like, obviously, you got Wolverhampton, Coventry, London. There's going to be more cities where more people are coming from, and everyone's going to have their stories, and everyone's going to share them stories on the KultureKast. Yeah. But no, on a serious note, it is sick. Obviously, as you say, the next generation now does have people to look up to, because there are people coming through representing the community on the big stages, and obviously are role models in that aspect. the other topic sort of I wanted to quickly touch on is the community work that you do, because that was something that you were passionate of even when you were amateur boxing. In the last podcast, you mentioned it, in this podcast as well.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it previously. Is it InPower Academy?
InPower Academy, yeah, that's the one.
So yeah, tell me, what do they do? What is your role in that, and how's that going?
So I've done a bit of everything. My main role is sports activator coach, which obviously means that I do a lot of the coaching and stuff like that. I do a lot of the physical side of things, but I'm always interjecting in every situation. Yeah, man, we go around different schools. I've been to probably about 15, 16 different schools in the West Midlands, and we've done projects with different kids. You know what I mean? I've learned new things for myself. Once again, some of these kids are smart, man. You know what I mean? You learn stuff from them as well. Like, once again, I'm a sponge. But yeah, man, it's been a great experience helping the younger generation out. And I've always wanted to help the younger generation out, because I was one of them kids that was a bit lost at one point. And you know what? I had the support from my guy Daryl when I was a young guy. When I was about 15. He's probably known me for 10 years now. Every time he was on and off, but he was always there for me. There were some other youth workers that helped me out in the past as well. And I'm just great to bring back to the community, you know what I mean? And see all these kids do great, because a lot of kids are these kids that I see have got great potential in doing sports, art, whatever it is. Like, I've seen some kids draw some things. I'm like, you lot could be artists. I could see your picture in London one day in the big places and that, you know what I mean, museums and stuff, you know what I mean? And obviously, once again, it's like everyone's got a different talent, especially the young kids and that. But yeah, I've done a lot of boxing with the young people. I teach them, you know, we teach them the values of respect, discipline, all these things. And it's just a great thing, man. I love helping people, you know what I mean? And it just makes me feel good about myself when I come out the session. I'm like, you know what, I made a difference in that kid's life. Because sometimes some kids don't have that person they want to speak to. So when I see them in town, for example, if I'm walking through town, I see that kid, I'm like, yo, Gully, it's good to see you, man. It's good to see you. And that's what it's all about. Like, and you want that kid to always look up to you as well as a role model. But at the same time, I want that kid to when he's older, to be a role model to someone else, like I was role model to them. And that's what I love about this generation. And you know, I think a lot of kids, they go towards the wrong path because it's easier. But at the same time, there's people like me out there. There's the InPower team, you know what I mean, and we're making a difference. They were always like, you know what, we could make it to a good thing. You know what I mean? Look where Gully was in the past, and look where he is now. You know what I mean? That's what's great about it. But I've done a lot of projects, summer projects, and mentoring. I've done detached youth work. I've done a lot of projects called the Unbreakables, the Warriors of Wellbeing, fight clubs. We've done everything. Fight clubs like Find Your Truth. So it's like an after school provision where young kids will come over, you know what I mean, from our projects and stuff, and obviously different locations if they haven't been before. And it's about finding your truth. That's what it stands for. And it's just sick, man. Like, and I enjoyed it, man. You know what I mean? I enjoy helping people once again. It's just a passion for me, another passion, a great passion. And that's something that will always stick by me and always will be a part of the Empire Academy. You know what I mean? So yeah, shout out to all them guys. Shout out to Daryl, Nico, and all them peoples.
100%. Shout out to them lads, and yourself for giving back, because like you say, when you do give back, it can have that knock-on effect for the next generation to give back, and it creates that spiral. Like I think like a man will never be poor from giving back. Like that's like a famous, I probably butchered it, but it's something like that of like if a rich man gives money away, he will only get richer. Do you know what I mean? Like it's something that will always enrich your life personally because of the experiences that you've had. Like, you'll feel better about yourself. They will potentially help another person because they've been helped, and it has a knock-on effect, and it's just good feels all around. And that is definitely good. And I've seen some of the things that you do with InPower also linked to other sort of organizations and things that are going on. I think Life Proof UK was one of them that you did like an interview with on one of the days, and against like knife crime and things like that. So it's definitely good because, like you say, it's so easy nowadays for that instant gratification of let's go out, let's do sort of naughty things and maybe get rich quick scheme and all these kind of things, and can sort of spiral down the wrong way. But with something like boxing, with something like martial arts and sort of any type of physical activity, it can sort of instill that discipline and put you down the right path. And so like credit to you, man.
Thank you, man. I won it was an award. I got a finalist award for leveling the playfield, and it was in London. It was probably 100 organizations and stuff, and I got a finalist out of it, and I was truly honored because even just to be a finalist, it was just obviously the person I won awards. Shout out to them, but it's just an honor, you know what I mean, to see that I have made a difference in the pictures they've been using of me, and it's gonna carry on, and I'll always be remembered for it as well. And once again, it's part of the story, it's part of the journey, and I want to be inspiring a young kid like myself in the future. But no, sorry, now, and he could be the next big thing. He could be even bigger than me one day. You know what I mean? And that's what it's all about. It's about helping people, and I think if you help someone, you feel good about it. It's not about what you get out of it. It's about what they get out of it. And that's what I want. I want people to feel good. And I think now there's a lot of negativity, especially in the younger generation, where social media comes in and you gotta be a certain type of way, but you don't have to. You know what I mean? Cool, you can wear a tracksuit and that, but doesn't mean you have to be a roadman, or you can go out there and be, I don't know, people always talking about girls and that, like for males, obviously young males, they always there's like this trend where I've noticed a lot of these young males just always want to talk to different girls, but a true gentleman speaks to one woman. Do you know what I mean? So like there's these trends and that, and I think the young kids follow it because if a famous rapper does it or a famous individual like an athlete does it, then it's like, nah, he does it. You know what I mean? So why can't I do it? And it's just be yourself and just be who you want to be. You know what I mean? Find your potential, find your greatness. If you want to follow the rapper and become like that, that's cool. That's up to you. But it's about planting the seed. You know what I mean? And that's what it's all about.
100%. Echo them greatly. I think we've seen that more so lately because of a certain Andrew Tate, but we'll not go into him. We'll not go into him because that's honestly, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you. And good luck for October 30th. When I did listen to the previous podcast, though, we did speak about the boxing landscape at that time, and a lot has changed within 18 months. So I just want to get your take on a couple of divisions, because around a year and a half ago, your pound for pound list, top 3/4, was Inoue at number 1, Canelo at number 2.
No, I think it's Canelo number 1.
No. I listened back to it and I listened it down. It's Inoue at number 1, Canelo at number 2, and Crawford at number 3, with an honorary shout out at 4th to Errol Spence.
Okay.
What would it be today?
I'd say I'd put Canelo number 1 because of what he's achieved. I know he lost against Bivol, but no one can stay for that. The guy's still got an undisputed champion and a 4-division world champion, and his resume just speaks for itself. And he's going to fight Golovkin. If he beats Golovkin again, he's just beat a man that's terrorized this fight. You know what I mean? So you can't take nothing away from Canelo. Like, he's just right in this minute, he's just the goat of boxing. Bivol beat Canelo, but Canelo took the risk, and that's about boxing. Once again, Canelo waited his time. You know what I mean? He waited till he was the top dog, and then went for Bivol. You know what I mean? He stayed patient. I put Inoue second. So I've switched to, the reason why I say Inoue, because his knockout with Nonito Donaire was amazing. Oh my God, Nonito Donaire was no joke. He knocked out 2 world champions before that. You know what I mean? I watched his fights. I was thinking, nah, Nonito Donaire, he's coming. He might come in different this time. And Inoue is a 4-division world champion. He doesn't get enough credit. And I would say Usyk's number 3 right now.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to put Usyk there. He beat Joshua twice, man. That ain't easy. I know Joshua's an animal and he hits like a tank, you know what I mean? And for Usyk to, even the punches that people might say Joshua, but I respect him a lot, man. Like, you know what I mean? The guy's made it from nothing. He's kind of similar background to me, you know what I mean? Where he comes from and that, obviously different places, but his mentality and his drive that got him there. He's achieved gold medal in the Olympics. He's been a world champion twice, had 3 world titles each time. I don't know if he had the Ring magazine. I don't think he did. But he beat some good fighters that no one believed he could beat, you know what I mean? And it takes a lot. But even then, though, if you look at the body shots he's landed on Usyk, I've got to put Usyk number 3, man. I've got to put him number 3, and I'll put Crawford number 4. Crawford, only reason I put Crawford number 4 is because he doesn't fight enough, man. If he fights Spence, I'll put him number 1. 100%.
Apparently it's close to being made, but we've heard that so many times before. So
I heard that about 4 years ago.
I'd probably agree with the 3 individuals. I'd probably switch around the rankings personally. Most likely because of recency bias, but I'll probably put Usyk as number 1, Canelo, and then Inoue. probably just because of recency bias and undefeated back-to-back unified
You know what it
champion,
is, though?
undisputed and then
I,
unified
I,
is mad.
the only reason why I don't put Music number one, and the reason why I don't put Music number one, the guy's achieved a lot of things, but he ain't fought Fury or Wilder or Andy
Yeah.
Ruiz yet. And there's still some fighters he needs to prove himself against, because people don't understand different clash the styles are different. So like Roberto Duran gave Marvin Hagler a great fight, but Thomas Hearns knocked out Roberto Duran in 2 rounds, I guess. I think it was. And then Thomas Hearns got knocked out by flipping, what's it called, and by Marvin Hagler. But Marvin Hagler got beat by Sugar Ray Leonard, and Sugar Ray Leonard lost against Thomas Hearns in the second one, and everyone knows that. Do you know what I mean? So obviously, he had 2 fights, but styles mixed fights, and I think Andy Ruiz will give Tyson Fury a tough fight. But I think Music will lose against Tyson Fury only because I don't know, but even then though, I can't say it because Music's just inspirational, man, what he did and that. Like, the guy's come back from Ukraine where his country's at war. But yeah, if he beats Fury, no, but even then though, I feel like Wilder might have a chance against Usyk, and I know Usyk's got good boxing skills, but it takes one punch. You know what I mean? And you see what he did to Louis Ortiz, so and I know Deontay Wilder won't let Tyson Fury get to him. I don't think that has got to him because he would never have come back to boxing. Yeah, man. One person I always did think that would ever be in the pound for pound was Keith Thurman. I always thought he would be in the pound for pound, but he doesn't fight enough anymore. If he beat Pacquiao, he beat Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, he beat Robert Guerrero, and then if he beat, say for example, if you beat Errol Spence and he beat Crawford, he'd have to be number one.
Yeah,
I'd have to.
but that's a lot of ifs. That's a lot of ifs.
Yeah, if he beats him, because I don't believe he beats him now. But when he was in his prime, Keith Thurman was the guy, man. Trust me. When he's beating Errol, he beat Danny Garcia, and Danny Garcia was undefeated. He beat a game, I would say proper Sean Porter, the most prime Sean Porter I've ever seen. Like, and he beat him. Robert Guerrero was pretty much in his prime at the time, and I think he doesn't get enough credit for how good he is. He even beat what's his name again? I forgot his name. That Amir Khan fought, and he threw the glass at Amir Khan, the water. I forgot his name now. Greco, whatever his name is, undefeated. Did he fight him? No, I don't think he fought him actually. No, that might not be right. He fought Diego Chavez, and he fought someone else. I'm gonna have to do some research into that. I think
Off the top of your head, to be fair, though, you listen to a lot of fucking fighters, so fair play to you.
Yeah, trust me, I'm addicted to this sport, man. You should hear me and my dad have these conversations about boxing, man. I know about it. And Lennox Lewis was probably, I'd say, if I was gonna say my old school, I might as well just add this in the podcast, but I might as well say this. But my top 3 heavyweights of all time. See, I used to love Mike Tyson. I would always put him number 1. So a year ago, if you did the podcast, you asked me this, I would say Mike Tyson number 1. But recently, I've been watching a lot of Lennox Lewis. The guy, man, like everyone was just scared of him, wasn't they? Like, obviously fair play to the people that knocked him out, like flipping, what's his name, Rackman. You know what I mean? Rackman knocked him out. I think it was an Oliver McCall. I think it was Oliver McCall that knocked him out as well. Like, I think it was Oliver McCall. I'm not too sure.
What's impressive is that he went back and rectified all of his losses.
Every loss, and that's what I'm saying. And I think they wanted to see that in Joshua as well. I think they was comparing him to Lennox because he lost twice now. There's not much really you can do, but fair play to him. But I'd put Lennox Lewis number 1. I would say Mike Tyson number 2. And I'd say my number 3 would have been Ray Mercer. And I know a lot of people don't really don't know too much about Ray Mercer.
Bro, Ray Mercer's knockout on Tommy Morrison is fucking literally, if you haven't ever seen that and you're listening to this, Google that now. It's one of the most brutal knockouts in the history of boxing.
Facts. And
you're impressed with that one, isn't it? I got knowledge from.
Yeah. Tommy Morrison was lethal as well, if you look. But yeah, man. Yeah,
at that time, because that was when he was in his prime as well. Like, he wasn't fucking about back then. Tommy Morrison was game.
He beat some good fighters, man. Like, we got to give credit where it's due. And Tommy Morrison was serious, but he just like winning too much.
Yeah, that's it.
I think that was his downfall. But he's a great fighter. One of the best. I would say one of the best American fighters out there at the time. I remember. And the thing is, I think there was talks of him fighting Mike Tyson. I can't remember if there was or not, but yeah, man, there's always been talks about boxing, but all the old heavyweights.
Speaking of heavyweights, the last podcast we recorded is when AJ Fury was about to be made then. When I was listening back at it, because we were talking about, the deal's on, the deal's off, the deal's on, the deal's off, and fast forward to this one, we're exactly in the same position. We're hearing December 3rd. At this moment in time, Joshua has agreed all of Fury's terms, and it seems like December 3rd could be a possibility. Most people are pretty much unanimously in Fury's favour, given that Joshua just came off 2 losses. The last time we spoke, we both thought that Joshua was going to win that fight. Do you still think that, or do you think Fury now?
Once again, I can't make a prediction on it. Obviously, I love Joshua. He's my guy still. Obviously, I think Joshua's got the style to beat Fury. You know what I mean? He's got the style, and obviously, once again, Usyk was a different style. It's like Usyk fighting Fury. Fury probably beat Usyk, but then we could say about Andy Ruiz beating Usyk. You never know. So it's like, or even Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce could beat Usyk this time. You know what I mean? And this is what people don't realize: styles makes fights, and Joshua might knock out. You know, if Wilder could catch Fury, then why can't Joshua? You know what I mean? And Joshua could rip the body, and they might hurt Fury. You never know. Like, these are things that are gonna happen, and if it does happen, we'll see who wins. And I'm still rooting for Joshua. You know what I mean? But we'll just see, man. Like, like it doesn't matter if Joshua lost his last 2 fights. I think he's a legend in the sport of boxing, and he brought British boxing back to life. And Fury then carried on that British boxing and bringing that back to life, and them two created this era, you know what I mean, of the heavyweight boxing. And Wilder was over in America, so them 3 were the ones that created it. And there's always these little upsets like Andy Ruiz. It just makes boxing even more interesting. This is what I love about boxing, man. That once again, even that little thing that happened with Tyson Fury when he fought Otto Wall in the cut in his eye, it just made it interesting because okay, Usyk could probably do that because he's southpaw. You know what I mean? And why can't he do that? That's the question I would ask. But yeah, man, like, I won't speak too tough. Like I said, we'll do a podcast where we just speak about boxing for a whole hour, and 100%. We can just conversate about it from there. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, as I say, I thank you greatly. The details for the fight and things are all over your Instagram, which will be linked in the description, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever. Hopefully, we can see big things coming from the debut, from the amateur to the debut, and then every step of the way, we will be following your journey, and hopefully we can get you on the podcast many, many more times, maybe for all the way up until multiple world titles and right to the top. Just don't forget about me in it. You might ditch me for IFL or something.
Nah, I wouldn't do that, man. I wouldn't do that. I will always come back to where I started off. You know what I mean?
No, appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on the podcast. And shout out to all my sponsors. You know who you are. Shout out to everyone that shows me love and support. Shout out to all the people that are going to be watching this. You know what I mean? When the time comes, and let's get tight. It's time to rumble now. It's time to show the greatness of Gully's relentless power. Let's get it.